Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. You know, I've never been the kind of YouTuber who... I'm trying to think of a polite way to put this. The kind of YouTuber who tries too hard with their video thumbnail and video descriptions. You know the sort of thing I mean. Clickbait thumbnails that usually feature one of several things, either an extremely attractive young woman in various stages of undress. No, you can't figure out what the hell she has to do with a video on the USS Missouri, but you're going to watch that video to find out. That, or the video creator has their face plastered all over the thumbnail, wearing an expression which I'm sure they think is supposed to convey, oh my god, you can't believe what I've got for you in today's video, but which I always seem to find reminds me of either A, caught in mid-orgasm, or B, halfway through squeezing out a particularly troublesome shit. I, on the other hand, have always felt more comfortable with the, how can we put it, the 1950s school of YouTube thumbnail advertising. Back in the days when commercials pretty much consisted of a picture of the product with somebody standing next to it looking very uncomfortable, suggesting that maybe you'd like to give it a shot. If it's not too much bother, you never know, you might find it useful. Now, I don't know if this approach is a good thing or a bad thing. It's entirely possible that this approach to thumbnailing and captioning my videos is one of the reasons why I don't have 1 million subscribers yet, but I've never really been a fan of overselling my videos. I just tend to put them up. If you like them, great. If you don't, well, it's a big old YouTube. There's plenty more content out there. The reason why I'm telling you all of this, in case it wasn't already obvious, is that I don't make a habit of routinely proclaiming that every video that I upload contains stuff that you are not going to believe, oh my god, watch this, it's going to change your life, etc, etc, yada yada yada. So on those very rare occasions where I tell you, for example, you're not going to believe how this battle ends, hopefully you know I mean it. I'm not just saying that to get you to try to hang around and watch the full videos so that the YouTube algorithm starts promoting my videos to a wider audience. I've never really understood how that would work anyway. I mean, not YouTube's algorithm promoting videos to a wider audience if the video tends to get watched all the way through by a whole bunch of people. I mean, you know, that much is obvious. No, I mean, people who start off their videos or even title their videos, you won't believe how this battle ends, because then surely aren't they just encouraging everybody to skip to the last 2 minutes? I mean, is it just me? Or am I just too old to get it? I don't know. But anyway, I suppose at some point I should probably introduce the hero of today's video. This, in the Gross Occur First, in a Tier 10 ranked arms race, is Mikkel. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. I mean, I've always assumed that that's pronounced Mikkel. If that was an English name, that's how it would be pronounced, spelled like that. But it's not an English name, so that could be pronounced Michael for all I know. Tell you what, we'll compromise. We'll call him Mick. Don't you just call people Dave, Jingles? Well, yeah, I know, but look, I'm trying, all right. So anyway, Mick. It's been a fairly slow start to the game, but he's mostly just been working himself into position, and this is basically where he wants to be. The team have grabbed a couple of buffs already, but nothing of particularly great import has happened just yet. He's in the Gross Occur First, obviously, and as you can tell by the green range circle indicating the range of his secondaries, 11.6 kilometers, he's gone for a secondary build. He's got a perfect target there to shoot at with the enemy Gross Occur First, and the range isn't too bad either. It's only 13.7 kilometers, but, well, he's in a Gross Occur First. Not the most accurate guns in the world. If he'd been in a Montana or a Republique, he would probably have done a lot more damage with that salvo, but he isn't in a Montana, he isn't in a Republique, he is in a Gross Occur First. So even at that kind of range, if you do end up doing a huge amount of damage, couple of citadels maybe, or even just a whole bunch of armor-piercing penetrations, it's usually more to do with luck than judgment. Now, he is well angled, and even with a secondary build, the Gross Occur First is still a reasonably tough old battleship. Unfortunately, angled like this, he can only bring 2 turrets to bear, and both of those enemy Tier 10 battleships have been shooting back at him with all 4 of theirs, so he's basically outnumbered 8 turrets to 2. So he's pulling back a little to give himself a bit of a break from all that incoming fire, and he's found himself something to shoot at with the two rear turrets. The enemy Grozvoy has been spotted and has taken a fearful beating, but of course he's in a grosser curve first, so all 6 of those shots miss. Now there's an awful lot of torpedoes been slung around this island, on the right from the Grozvoy, on the left from the gearing, and Mick's spider sense is tingling. He activates his hydro just in the nick of time to give him warning of the Shimakaze's torpedoes. That sneaky little Japanese bugger working his way right around the flank, trying to catch everybody taking shelter behind this island, and he very, very nearly does it. Unfortunately for Mick, avoiding those torpedoes means he's now giving broadside to... oh, hang on a minute. Well, that could have been extremely dangerous, because turning to avoid those Shimakaze torpedoes means that he is now giving what would have been a perfect target to the enemy Grosser Kurfürst and Montana down to the south, but they have pulled a U-turn and can't actually shoot at him and take advantage of this, because they're both on the other side of that island down there. Now, caught in open water like this, you could see that a whole bunch of people suddenly started trying to target him. But he's definitely going to take advantage of the timing of this turn to complete it and get angled again before those 2 tier 10 battleships down to the south actually get a clear shot at him. More good news: while all of this was going on, the enemy Grozvoy was caught and sunk by the friendly Smolensk, so the enemy team are down 1 ship, and it's one of their destroyers. Even more good news: the friendly Worcester, just down there slightly to the south, forewarned by Mick's hydro that the enemy Shimakaze was trying to work his way around the flank, has now gotten himself into position and using his radar, and there's the Shimakaze. The good news ends there, unfortunately, because the Shimakaze saw the Worcester moving up and has gotten himself into cover behind the island. More torpedoes. Probably from the gearing, who was last... oh wait, there he is. Yes. Yeah, the gearing last spotted accompanying the Grosser Kurfürst and the Montana, but working his way around to the Shimakaze's position. And the Shimakaze... did he forget that there was a Grosser Kurfürst here in his inside secondary range? Looks like he got a little bit too overconfident when trying to get into cover from the Worcester. But the Worcester's radar has expired now, so both the Shimakaze and the gearing have gone undetected. So overconfident or just really, really good timing? You be the judge. The only thing Mick knows for sure is that with an undetected Shimakaze and gearing down there, he needs to get something big and solid between himself and any possible enemy torpedoes. Now, while all of this has been going on, things have not been going too well for the rest of the team. The friendly Khabarovsk has managed to sink the enemy Des Moines, probably not by himself, but that means the enemy team no longer have a radar, so that's good news. But in the time between that happening and Mick spotting the gearing's torpedoes just a minute earlier, the enemy Des Moines managed to catch and sink the Shimakaze, and the enemy Montana managed to catch and sink the Smolensk, so both teams are now on 2 kills each. However, both of the team's surviving destroyers, the Harugumo and the Kaba, are on very low health. So now would be a great time for them both to take it easy, stay in cover, stay undetected, and let that healing buff work its magic. The Harugumo was, and is doing, exactly that. In fact, he's just grabbed another healing buff. The Khabarovsk, not so much. The one destroyer on the team that is best employed at maximum range from enemy targets took that opportunity to charge to within 1 or 2 kilometers of a Grosser Kurfürst, who was backed up by a Hindenburg and a Montana. So the team are now down to 1 surviving destroyer, that Harugumo down there. Still no sign of the enemy Shimakaze or the enemy gearing. The only thing we know about them for sure is that they are in a potentially extremely dangerous position. But there has also been one other development. You see, in an arms race battle, as well as these various different types and flavours of buffs that are scattered around, randomly appearing at predetermined spots available to be grabbed and applied to your team, there's no actual capture point until a certain period of time has passed. Well, that period of time has passed, and the single capture point in an arms race battle is now available. Capture point A, right in the middle of the map. And the reason why the capture point is so important in an arms race battle is because the team that controls it gets 10 points every 3 seconds. And Mick, in the Grosser Kurfürst, and that Harugumo, still hiding behind the island and recovering his health, are capturing that control point. You see, the enemy team do still have the advantage here, and not just because they have one more ship. Their positioning is better. They're able to catch Mick's team in a crossfire. Those two destroyers are flooding the cap circle with torpedoes, trying to sweep it clear of the two ships that are busy capping. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for Mick, those torpedoes were launched from just a little bit too far away. The two enemy destroyers aren't the only ones that see the danger. The enemy Montana has also realised what's about to happen and is doing his best to rush and just get over the border of that cap circle in order to contest it and stop Mick and the Harugumo from actually flipping it for their team. But he's just going to be a little bit too slow. There it is, they've taken it. Now, taking the cap is one thing. Holding on to it is an entirely different matter. Unfortunately for the Montana, his rush to get into the cap circle has placed him in an extremely vulnerable position. Luckily for the Montana, Mick has just fired, so he's momentarily unable to punish that nice big juicy broadside target that the Montana showed him. But the Montana is within range of Mick's secondaries, and a secondary build gross occur first at this kind of range is no joke. Then again, at this kind of range, the gross occur first main battery guns are no joke either. That was a fairly respectable chunk of damage. Mick once again finds himself in the situation of having to angle and therefore not being able to bring his full firepower to bear against two enemy ships. In fact, make that 3 enemy ships. And unfortunately the Harugumo has just gone down in a gunfight against the enemy Shimakaze, although to be fair to the Harugumo, he was on extremely low health and the Shimakaze just took advantage of his vulnerability to secure an easy kill. This is where things get very interesting for Mick, and when I say interesting, I mean interesting as in the old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. He's got a Montana, a gross occur first, and a Hindenburg shooting at him. And are those Shimakaze torpedoes? Yes, those are Shimakaze torpedoes. He's keeping his distance from the Hindenburg, so he doesn't have to worry about Hindenburg torpedoes as well. But as it happens, the Hindenburg cannot fire torpedoes without sinking his own Montana. And the Montana was extremely lucky to survive that, but he did lose a turret. The Shimakaze torpedoes run out of steam. The Montana, the only reason he's still alive is because Mick could only get 2 turrets firing at him, has managed to get into cover behind the island, is recovering health, and probably also has a bit of a healing buff going on from earlier in the match. The Hindenburg seems to be suffering from what I can only describe as a sudden rush of shit to the brain. What on earth are you doing, man? Did you not just see the Tier 10 battleship cowering behind the island from the fusillade of shells being directed in his direction? I know you have turtleback armour, but you're cruiser turtleback. You're not battleship turtleback. I mean, are you really that desperate to get your torpedoes away? Perhaps it's understandable after getting cock-blocked by the Montana, but, well, doesn't appear to have paid off too well for him, has it? Now, let's not get too excited, because the enemy team are still 1 kill up, but throughout the course of this engagement, Mick has stayed inside this cap circle. The enemy team have been prevented from flipping it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Shimakaze torpedoes. Hydro's running. Spotted them well in advance. They're not going to be a problem. And there's the high caliber award. Only 112,000 damage, but in arms race there were only 7 ships per side, so the maximum total of health on the enemy team isn't that great to begin with. And what is this Montana doing? He's still giving broadside. Did he not learn his lesson the first 2 times? Well, once again, he was never taught a lesson because he kept giving broadside and he keeps getting away with it. Despite positioning like a bit of a noob, the Montana is getting away with it. And the Montana continues to get away with it. There is quite literally no justice in the world. Well, for the next few minutes at least, the Montana is going to be a bit of a sideshow. Mick concentrates his secondaries on him and turns his attention to the enemy gross occur first, who has the broadside of the Kremlin to shoot at. But Mick has the broadside of the gross occur first to shoot at, and let's try to ignore the fact that the Kremlin is sailing straight into the Shimakaze smokescreen. Now, any other Tier 10 battleship would have died here, but not the gross occur first, because that turtleback armour arrangement that the gross occur first enjoys is particularly effective at preventing citadel damage at close range, and it doesn't get much closer than this. Mick here is kind of torn between angling against the Montana that refuses to die and might just poke out again and try his luck, and assisting the Kremlin against the Grosser Kurfürst that's chasing after him with all guns blazing. When you're a Grosser Kurfürst, that's a lot of guns. But it's not the Grosser Kurfürst that the Kremlin has to worry about, because he's sailing into a Shimakaze smokescreen. Oh, and the Worcester died earlier as well. We missed it in all of the excitement, which means that Mick is now the last member of his team alive against 4 enemies. He is slap bang in the middle of that cap circle. He's still contesting it. He's got a Gearing and a Montana on one side of him, and a Grosser Kurfürst and a Shimakaze on the other side of him. No matter which way he turns, he's going to be giving broadside to somebody. I'm sure there are worse situations in which to be in World of Warships, but off the top of my head I can't really think of one. He's managed to avoid the Shimakaze's torpedoes. He's doing his level best to avoid the Gearings, but he still takes 2 of them. Triggers his damage control, puts out the fires, takes control of the flooding. All of his consumables are on cooldown, and right now that Gearing is going to have to work pretty hard to avoid the Shimakaze's torpedoes. But he is still spotted because he's inside hydro range. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The Gearing made a serious error of judgment there. He forgot all about German battleship hydro. Now, for the last God knows how long, Mick has been valiantly contesting this cap and preventing the enemy from taking it, but well, enough's enough. The Montana, still giving broadside, still getting away with it. You've got to be kidding. Maybe the secondaries can take him down. Although how effective the secondaries are going to be when both teams have healing buffs is... Oh no, he's got him! Nice, close quarters expert. 1 against 2. The enemy team are now flipping the cap, with the Shimakaze and the Grosser Kurfürst in hot pursuit. The Grosser Kurfürst is recovering health, as is the Shimakaze. And now that the Montana's been taken care of, the Shimakaze very wisely stops shooting and smokes up, because he is inside Grosser Kurfürst's secondary gun battery range. Mick has been aiming for the enemy battleship's turrets, and he did manage to knock one of them out, although I think only temporarily. He's basically doing whatever he can to try to stay alive for as long as he can. But it's difficult to see how he can win this battle without sinking both of the enemies, because he's given up control of the cap circle. Yes, he has a points lead, but it's not a very big points lead, and the team that controls that cap circle in arms race gets 10 points every 3 seconds. And Mick's given up control of the cap circle. That's no criticism of Mick, of course. He had no choice but to leave the cap circle, because if he'd stayed there, he would have died. In fact, I think it likely that the enemy Grosser Kurfürst might have just rammed him, because that would be one way of finishing the match. Although it's equally likely that he would have eventually succumbed to the Shimakaze's torpedoes, because he's run out of charges of every single consumable that he has, except for damage control, which only has charges if you're on a Russian battleship. The Shimakaze's popped up again. He's feeling brave. Focuses the secondaries on the Shimmer, which are more likely to hit and do damage than the main gun batteries. Although the main gun battery does score a hit, but it's not enough to kill the Shimakaze. It is enough to give him the Confederate award to go with the high caliber and close quarters expert. There is, however, another way that Mick can win this battle that doesn't involve sinking both the Grosser Kurfürst and the Shimakaze. He can win on points, but how can he win on points if the enemy team control the cap? But the enemy team don't control the cap. Look. It's gone back to control of Mick's team. There are 4 ways that you can win a battle in World of Warships. Either sink all of the enemy ships, which is clearly what these 2 clown shoes are trying to do. You can reach 1,000 points before the end of the match. You can drive the enemy team down to 0 points, or you can have more points than the enemy team when the battle timer expires. If just one of those 2 enemy ships had stayed inside the cap, there were 3 different ways that they could have won this battle. But because they've left the cap, there's now only one way they can win this battle. They have to kill Mick. On the other hand, because they've left the cap, Mick now has 2 different ways of winning this battle. He can either sink them both, which isn't looking too likely, or he can just stay alive until the end of the battle and win on points, because he's gaining 10 points every 3 seconds, and he was ahead of them on points to begin with. He's heading away from the Shimakaze, which makes it extremely unlikely that the Shimmer's torps are going to catch up to him. The Shimmer has of course realised this, and he's shooting at him because he's now got nothing left to lose. The Grosser Kerr first. If you're going to keep giving broadside like that just to get all 4 of those gun turrets firing, expect to pay the price. With 9 seconds to go, the Shimakaze very nearly does it. He momentarily reduces Mick to 25 health, but that triple healing buff keeps him afloat. But with bare seconds left on the clock, Mick wins, 1 against 4, with over 300,000 damage done, multiple awards to his credit, and all because some people would rather kill everything than cap. The cry of no cap, kill all has been losing games in World of Tanks for the best part of the last 10 years, and it loses games in World of Warships as well. Mick, congratulations on a truly epic win. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed it. More importantly, I hope you learned something from it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.